Truth be told, the Steelers management knew that Russell Wilson was still capable of this. And they believed in him to the extent, or maybe you could say the extreme, that they considered signing him or attempting to sign him to a longer-term contract way back this past summer. Good afternoon to you. Good Friday afternoon. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is a new double shot show that comes your way every weekday afternoon. Steelers versus Browns is a pretty big deal. Sunday, 1:02 p.m. kickoff over at Acrisure Stadium. I'm going to look past it, not in the figurative sense, but in the literal sense, and look at this team's short-term future at its most important position. And that's Russ at quarterback, if we're being real here. And we can talk about Russ. He just turned 36 a week ago. He's not the same guy he was in Seattle. He still has to rely on his mobility maybe more than you would like for a quarterback in his mid-30s, but then he's always been the same guy. He's always had to move from the pocket. He's created his own pocket. He's made things happen on the run, but he's still doing it. And he's doing it at a very high level, very, very high level. The level that if you look around the NFL and see what quarterbacks are making, you get paid, pretty much what Russ got paid last year and this year and all the other years, just wasn't coming out of the Steelers' coffers. This is being paid for by the Denver Broncos, incidentally, if you're not familiar with that. You need to keep that player. And to the credit of Omar Khan, Mike Tomlin, Andy Weidel, everybody in management, they did expect this. They brought Russ in feeling that he was going to do this once he had the opportunity. And they also see him as being capable of that into the future. Now, until it actually happens, you don't know. When Tomlin made the switch from Justin Fields to Russ, he could say anything. He could crow about, what was that line from him about how I'm very well compensated for a reason. But until he went out there and did it, until he got the offense on his side, until he found the proper chemistry, in particular with George Pickens, no one could have known. Now we're looking at it. Now we know. And now when you see that the Steelers have, it's either the highest or the second highest, and forgive me for not having that information right here, but it's either the highest or the second highest amount of cap space going into the 2025 season. Well, the reason for that is that they're not paying a quarterback. And they're going to have to pay a quarterback. They really ought to pay this one. Now, what that means for Fields' future, look, if I'm Justin, I'm knocking on doors, kind of like what you saw Mason Rudolph doing over the offseason. I'm saying, hey, I'm not a sideline guy. I'm not a gimmick guy. I appreciate the landing space that the Steelers gave me here leaving Chicago, but I'm a starting quarterback in the NFL. You're not going to have too many backups across the league who are going to have started off their team 4-2 the way Fields did here. He's going to be able to do that. But then you just go and get yourself a normal backup. You get yourself somebody who isn't necessarily, looking for a second chance or anything. You just get somebody who's a backup, a Charlie Batch. But Russ has to be signed, my friends. He does. He has to be signed. And I think he has to be signed for the longer term. That's going to feel uncomfortable, I think, for a lot of people around here because of his age. In fact, only because of his age. But then, how old was Tom Brady? How old was Ben Roethlisberger when he was still effective and he led the Steelers to the 11-0 start in the COVID year? This is what you have to do. This is the price that you have to pay. You must have this player at this position. And I'm not saying they're going to do something in season. They don't do that. But I sure wouldn't be waiting long. That's something I'd be probably putting at the top of the list for off season to do, like maybe 5 minutes after the season ends. When we come back, I'm going to be joined by Chris Halleck.
At DK Pittsburgh Sports, we take pride in coverage that connects our city's fans to their favorite teams. Now, that connection's stronger than ever. Introducing our all-new state-of-the-art app. Find expert inside reporting and original podcasts. Check live box scores. Track the latest stats. Chat it up with our community of thousands of fans, all in one place. The new app from DK Pittsburgh Sports. Coverage that connects.
Joined now by Chris Halleck over on the South Side. You know, TJ Watt, Chris, could end up being Defensive Player of the Year. And if and when he is, it will not include the Cleveland game that he had. It just won't. There's sometimes we come up with, all kinds of different, very real reasons why he gets shut down. I still don't have one from that game.
No, I don't either. That game might be the biggest, just the most perplexing performance of the season, because we've talked, I swear we've had this conversation multiple times. We've been like, well, this is a defense that does this terribly, so the Steelers should be doing this. Well, that was the ultimate. TJ should be going off in this game, and then it just did not happen. And I'm going to say the same thing. TJ should be having a great game. And I don't know. I don't have answers for it either. I think TJ is going to be motivated to want to play better, regardless of anything Myles Garrett said about him being the number one guy or anything like that.
Yeah,
that doesn't motivate him. What motivates him is just.
It probably does somewhat. Let's be real here, okay? I mean, he's human too. I looked at that game and I just went, what? And then those have happened before. Again, he's human. But when I think of that game and its repercussions for TJ and really for the defense as a whole, I'm going to go out on a limb here and guess that it's going to end up being a positive, because what we ended up seeing in Cincinnati, and I'm positive we're going to see it Sunday against the Browns, is that the Steelers' edge rushers are going to be more of a mix, more unpredictable. And that, of course, helps that you're going to have Alex Highsmith back. But have all these different guys involved, have them coming from different directions, not know where Nick Herbig is, not know where TJ is. You see what I'm saying, Chris? Maybe they wouldn't have done that if what happened in Cleveland hadn't happened.
Yeah, and I think there's a number of different ways they can go about it. I do think that's going to help them ultimately. And listen, they have to. The best way to try to beat Jameis Winston is to go at him with a 4-man rush, because he has 127 passer rating against the blitz. So if you think that bringing extra guys is the answer, you're mistaken. He's a much better passer. He has an 88 passer rating for the season. So that just goes to show how much better he is whenever you try to bring extra pressure. He can escape, and he he absolutely can make defenses pay for it. They have to find ways to get home with 4 guys, and I mean, that's one way to do it, is move TJ around, move Alex around, get all 3 guys on the field at the same time, like they've done previously. They haven't done much of it, but there are a number of different ways they can do it. And after the way Nick Herbig's been playing it when Alex Highsmith's been out, I have a hard time just keeping him on the bench.
See, that's the thing that comes up here. It's so easy to get all cringy about any of this stuff and then think, why would Nick be standing on a sideline when he can flip the game like that, right? I mean, you almost have to find a way. But whose expense does that come at? What position's expense does that come at? Are you going with one inside linebacker? Are you going with a one down lineman? Are you going with fewer guys in the secondary? Somebody has to come off.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a number, and again, that's a number of different ways you can go about it. I don't think the Steelers are going to be ever in a situation where they're not going to have the 2 interior defensive linemen. So you're probably looking at taking one of the linebackers off, the inside linebackers off, and that's one way to do it. But either way, you got to figure out a different way.
All right. Well, if I do that though, Chris, what would stop the Browns from saying, all right, we're going to throw to David Njoku all day? we're gonna have him go against Patrick Queen or whoever you have an inside linebacker up, and we're gonna be just fine with that. We'll eat all day long with Njoku. It's a really good football player.
Yeah, he is. But there's also times that TJ, he doesn't necessarily. I don't think he has one this season. But TJ can also drop back into coverage too, and he's made some big time plays in the past. He has.
I know, but you don't want that.
Not all
either,
the time.
No,
not all the time. I think 90% of the time you want him going after the quarterback, but the occasional time in which he drops back into coverage, I think about the play he made against Matthew Stafford in that Rams game last year. That was you wouldn't expect an edge rusher to be able to go out and make that type of a play. If he has that, use it. Every now and then, of course, you want him going after the quarterback. So I think this ultimately just comes down to TJ needing to win more often, Alex Highsmith coming back with a vengeance and winning more often, and then having Nick Herbig be the guy who can spell those guys, keep those guys more fresh.
Well, the last thing I have for you, Chris, is maybe, I don't know, maybe the scariest thing of all, and that's that Jerry Jeudy is coming off a 9-catch, 235-yard performance against his former team, the Broncos, out in Denver this past week. And you've got Joey Porter Jr., of course, coming off of Six Flags. And I don't mean the amusement park. And that has the feel of, if you're the Browns, why wouldn't you just Flacco them to death? And of course, what I mean by that is try to just draw DPIs deep downfield.
They will be testing Joey Porter Jr. Anybody, any NFL team is smart enough to smell blood in the water and to go after him. They're going to try to make him commit penalties, and if they do that, then they're gonna, like you said, they're gonna be able to move the ball down the field just because of the flags they're throwing. It is on Joey to clean that up. It's also on this defense to make sure that they don't try to do too much to take Jeudy away. I think when they try to do too much, that's whenever you see guys go off. I think that might have been one of the reasons why.
Wait. What do you mean by that?
Well, when you try to do too much, you're one guy's trying to play this, try to cover this zone and this zone too, because he thinks he can be Superman. It's every guy playing within their role. It's all 11 guys. That's what. Anytime you hear Cam Hayward talk about this defense, or any of the leaders on this defense talk about it, they always say it's all about 11 guys doing their job. That sounds cliche, and it sounds like it's the cop-out answer. But it's true. This defense does play its absolute best when guys don't try to play outside themselves. If Joey is asked to be the deep third guy in cover 3 on this particular play, be the best deep third you could possibly be. Don't try to be the deep third and also try to bust out some sort of weird man coverage maneuver, because it's way outside the concept that's called. It's about guys doing their jobs, and when they do that, they are able to then stick with a game plan and limit Jamar Chase to only 80-something yards or T. Higgins to only 60-something yards. That's how this defense is going to be most successful, and then be opportunistic the way they've been in taking the ball away.
When we come back, J1Q.
Safety is a habit. Gun safety and responsible storage are no different. Help prevent gun accidents, misuse, and theft. Keep firearms safe and secure when not in use. For safe storage options, visit projectchildsafe.org.
Time now for J1Q. That stands for just one question. And if it's Friday, it must be...
DK, the PEF is back with another question for you. You know the saying, you don't know what you have until it's gone. In all 3 of the Steelers' losses this year, no Alex Highsmith. Do we not give this guy enough credit for what he does for this team?
We do not, the PEF. I feel so strongly about what Alex Highsmith brings to this football team at this stage of his NFL career. What a complete player he's become. Think about his beginnings, the PEF. Think about, coming out of Charlotte, being that guy that they saw as kind of a raw material, somebody they'd need to form out of clay kind of prospect. He comes to Pittsburgh, And he fills himself in the way you would need to play his position and to play it at a consistently high level. He makes all the tackles he's supposed to make. He prevents the other team's running back from hitting the actual edge. And once he's in there, because he's formed that foundation, he can then generate splash. And that's a value to this defense that maybe will be higher than what it would be to somebody else's defense. In the 3-4, James Harrison used to talk about this all the time. If you're going to be the technical OLB, if you're going to be the outside linebacker, edge rusher, whatever anybody wants to call that, you can't function in this scheme without stopping the running plays. This past weekend in Cincinnati, and boy, do I not mean to pick on TJ, because he's really, really good at this. But just as an example of what can happen when things go wrong, TJ over pursued one time, just blew right past everybody, was heading toward Joe Burrow. Running back went right past him. Can't happen. Doesn't happen very often, to TJ's credit. Doesn't happen to anyone on this team, to Mike Tomlin's credit, because it's his emphasis. It's something that he imparts on these guys, and he's been doing it for years and years and years. They all need to be, basically, if you think about it, for those of you who go a little bit back with this team, they need to be Aaron Smith. They need to be the peak version of Lamar Woodley. You can go get the quarterback all you want, but you can't let anybody go past you. And that's what Alex is so good at. On top of that, Alex just brings you so much stability that you can now do some things a little bit differently with Nick Herbig, maybe even Preston Smith. Yes, the PEF, I am with you. No, the PEF, we do not appreciate him sufficiently. But yes, the PEF, he will be back Sunday to face the Browns. I appreciate you, the PEF, and I appreciate everybody who checks out the Double Shot Show. And we'll be back with another one of these on Monday.